to you, good people, and welcome once again to Wafu TV. This is a platform where we demystify, we simplify, and we exemplify elementary mathematics for your understanding. Last time, we promised you to do something a little bit different from the solving that we do in most of our lessons. Today, we are going to be looking at classroom management. This is very important because for teaching learning to be effective, there must be some form of classroom management, and that's what we are going to be discussing today. By the end of the lesson, we should be able to improve our classroom management. It is true that you cannot have a classroom that is 100% under control, but at least you can improve the control of your classroom to improve on the classroom performance. So today we have some of the management techniques that we want to bring out and explain, and from experience we'll share with you, and of course we believe you're going to do your own research to be able to find more and better ways on how to manage your classroom. The first one we'll start with is personalized learning. Under personalized learning, we are just talking about the uniqueness of our learners. Our learners are many, and as many as they are, that is how unique they are as well. No two learners are the same, and for that reason, we should be able to make learning focus, personalized to each learner. It may sound difficult, but if you have this in mind and know that this learner is different from that other one, you will not use generalities in teaching, because when you generalize, it favors some and disfavor others, and those who are disfavored are those who may create chaos. If we know that no two learners are the same, it brings us to this point to identify the different types of learners that we have in our classroom situation. In the classroom, you have these three key types of learners. You have auditory learners, those who have to hear. They learn by listening. Sometimes just by doing this, they understand. So it doesn't concern them if you're putting up a video or trying to solve some examples. So long as you explain well, it is okay for them. The next group of people are the visual learners. Visual learners have their eyes open and they want to see. They want to see practically what is being done so that they can understand. Without seeing, it will be difficult for them to understand only the explanation. So you must do some practical examples so that the learners can view. As a teacher, you must illustrate, demonstrate, and show some videos, cardboards with drawings and so on, so that the learners can be able to visualize and create visual icons for their own remembrance. We have kinesthetic learners. The kinesthetic learners are those who will learn by manipulation. They don't only have to hear, they don't only have to see, but they have to manipulate, to do it as well, take part in doing it so that it can facilitate their understanding. For instance, you are solving mathematics problems. After explaining and solving some examples with them, you should be able to give them as well so that they do it practically. This is important because if you focus on one, the other two will disturb you. The third thing here is consider your instructional technique. Here it has to do more with the level at which you are. For lower classes, you should know what you use, games, pictures, and so on will keep the student focused. And at the higher levels, you have to keep alternating depending on the level and of course the lesson. Always take this into consideration when you are teaching. By doing these three, you have personalized the teaching learning experience. The next thing to do to control your class is to integrate experiential learning. You must bear with me that most of the disturbances come when there is nothing to do. And of course, just at the entrance into the class, you always realize that there are learners who are already disengaged from the classroom situation. To be able to keep them focused, you have to engage those who are disengaged. Keep them with an activity. Considering what we've discussed above here, you should be able to give them something doing, keep them busy, keep them working so that they will stay focused. The next point is to center teaching learning on the learners. ask more questions. Make sure teaching learning process is only centered around the learner. This is another way to keep the learners focused and of course have a proper management of your classroom. At the beginning of your lesson, there is always an objective. And to meet this goal, you should create what we call problem solving and critical thinking situations where they know this is my destination, but to get to this destination, you create some hurdles along the way, make them to think critically, and during the thinking process, it will be difficult for them to get distracted. If you look at this, it says use response to intervention. In your classroom situation, you have difficult learners and learners in difficulties. With these learners, the best way that you can help them and control your classroom is to connect with them. Connecting with them means use their situation to intervene in their cause. For you to be able to control those who are in difficulties and the difficult learners, you can meet them one-on-one, talk with them, keep them busy, or you simply integrate them or associate them in groups. For instance, you may have a group of students who are always very quiet, focused, and working. If you have a child who hops from one desk to the other, you can decide to associate him or her with this group of quiet students. And of course, as they are focused, it will cause the student to equally be focused. You can bring them to the front so that you are there in touch with him or her to talk one-on-one and coach this student to be able to move forward. This is another way that you can be able to control and manage your classroom. It is true that at the beginning of your lesson, you set an objective, but it is also very important that during your discussion with the learners, you can enable them to set goals for themselves. For instance, you can say, okay, before the end of the day, I'm going to answer 5 questions. Or before I go to bed, once I get home, I will solve 2 problems, or I will read a page of my text in the lesson that I had today. These are ways you can easily control and manage your classroom. Let's move to the last technique. Practice interdisciplinary teaching. You know, teaching and learning, sometimes students get bored because of the learning environment. So, to practice interdisciplinary teaching, it simply means create an open but controlled learning environment. This is a situation where learning integrates, touches other aspects of real life situations. You don't only stand there and preach and make the students feel bored, but try to integrate, go into some other things and make learning fun. Make learning process fun. Let the students catch fun as they are learning. See, it is possible that you can use the play that the child is doing to cause him to learn, to harness this play into learning. You can, if the child is dancing, you can decide to dance with him or her for a short split of a second, and before you know it, the child now knows you are focused on what he or she is doing. And you try to integrate yourself in what they do so that you bring them into what you do. This is another way of controlling and managing your classroom that can be very successful. Make learning process fun. And this fun should not only be fun, but fun with fact, which means there should be something to benefit as they catch some fun in the learning process. Explore real life situations. Here, you realize that sometimes when we teach, we make things look a little bit abstract. So to be able to have control of your classroom, you should explore real world situations by creating problem solving and critical thinking situations. It should be situations that have happened in real life, not abstract, not something that looks like fiction that they will never experience. These are the 4 ways that I think if we implement properly, in addition to the many that you learn out there, it can help us to have a good grip of our classroom and of course manage it well. And a class that is well managed, learning and teaching goes smoothly with improved performances. I just want to round up here by saying, for all this to be successful, boils down to this: classroom design. The layout of your classroom determines how much you can control that class. Classroom rules. Never sit alone to design the rules that will be followed in the classroom. Let them give some of these points, and of course the offense and the punishment, so that whenever they are violating these rules, they should not think they are violating somebody's rules, but they should know that they are violating their own rules. Then we have the instructional techniques. You should determine which type of instructional materials you can use in the classroom situation. And lastly, organization. You must be able to organize your work, organize your classroom, organize your learners in a way that teaching learning will flow without any disturbances. This is what we had for you today. This is not all. You have material out there that you can explore to be able to gain a lot of skills on how to manage your classroom. But this is what I had to share with you, and I believe you've learned something. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification button so that each time we post a video, you'll be aware of it. See you in our next lesson, and of course, we'll be starting with decimals. Don't miss it because it's going to be very interesting. Ciao.